this makes sense to me, and I'm going to invest myself in what's happening. And as that investment increases, the payoff is internal to you. You know, it's not that you get in early enough to buy stock and it goes up in big value. You know, you're not like the people who bought eBay early on or something, right? This is not the early adopter kind of thing we're talking about, of course. We're talking about the fact that you're making an investment in yourselves, and that investment is multiplying, and that multiplication of investment requires tending. It requires further options. It requires further willingness to, quote, take risk with your investment. All these things that you have the opportunity now to jump on and ride with. And the question is, are you going to play safe? Are you going to withdraw now that you've made some gains, right? If we're playing this investing analogy. It's as though you got in early on a stock and the stock's going up, and the question is, are you going to keep putting the dividends back in, or are you going to go, I learned enough, that's okay, I'm out. Because it's starting now to even speed up more quickly. We hope that's not a surprise to any of you. That it's speeding up, that it's perpetual motion, that you're feeding it in and getting more out. And what happens is you sort of are like on a horse that's got its head and you're just hanging on for dear life, but the scenery's neat. Yeah. But you are hanging on for dear life because you've never experienced this before, and it's requiring that you focus and be willing to see a new scene. And we talked about this last week, this need that you have this requirement for a deep willingness to come into you. Now, and lots of times we've talked about being willing is the key to it, because nothing happens without willingness. Yet now what we've done is that we've pushed you and you've responded to an edge. And at that edge, it's sort of a go, no-go place, like when they're launching the space shuttle. You're at a go, no-go place. And the go, no-go place says, am I really going to start living my life from this completely new paradigm? Or am I going to say, it's a little too much for me right now? Either one is okay, because it's a soul choice. And there's no wrong with soul choice. But the question is being put to you. And you're starting to see, wow, when I make a decision in consciousness, when I set a boundary, when I manage my fear properly, or consciously, let's say, my life changes. But there's this sense that every time you make that choice to use your tools, and every time you make that choice to use your tools and it works into some degree that makes you feel more comfortable, more blissful, more at peace, you get even more uneasy with the idea of living that way all the time. So it's easier, yet it's harder at the same time. And that's why we say you're at a go, no-go place. Because the only way you get past that sort of yin-yang push-pull bit is to continue to invest in that reality which you are now starting to live in. You don't get more unless you give more. And that means give more willingness to live consciously. Give more opportunity for insight from your soul. And give more openness to the idea that the way you've done it in the past has taught you all it has to teach you. And that's really the summary. And that last one is incredibly important. You have done it one way for so long that all of you have got, except for Devin maybe, have got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of practice at fear, habitual response, yada, 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 right? You've already done it. And there needs to be a conscious, conscientious willingness that says, I am done. I have learned all I need to learn about living this way. And I am ready for a new way of living to be the way I live. And that means that each time an opportunity comes up, you are more emphatically choosing the new paradigm and more emphatically releasing the habitual response. Up until now, we've had this thing like, wow, I'm being habitual. Now it's like, I won't be habitual. There's not a choice anymore because the being habitual is so uncomfortable, is so low vibration, is so rough on your body, is so freaking boring that you just say, I won't do it anymore. I just won't do it anymore. No. I'm not going to do it. And maybe my life changes, and maybe I get a new partner, and maybe I move, and maybe I get a new job, and maybe I lose weight, maybe I gain weight. I don't care. All I know is I'm not doing that anymore. No, 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 no. And that boundary is with you. You know, this is where you're setting a boundary with yourself and making a commitment to yourself. This might be the most important commitment you ever make in your entire life. And it's not done externally, it's done internally. Because everything important is done internally, right? Everything starts in an internal process. You're making a commitment to yourself that says no. Not because you're habitual, not because you're tempting, not because you're familiar, not because you continue misery, not because you feel safe, not because you don't trigger me. Just no. I don't care if you're habitual. I don't care if you're familiar. I don't care if I've done you that way for 30 years. I don't care if everybody thinks that's the way it should be done. I know it's not serving me. I know it's not helping me become the person I wish to be. I know I'm not living in bliss. So, no, I won't do it anymore. And I'm the one who makes the choice. Not because Elohim says, not because your parents say, not because your spouse says, not because the government says, but because you say, look, every time so-and-so says such and such, I do so forth. And every time I do so forth, I am miserable. So I'm not going to do so forth anymore. And then you go forth in a new way. And that first few steps you take when you're going forth in a new way are scary. And you think, oh, what I did. Oh, did I make the right choice? And that's the place we're talking about tonight. That's the go, no-go place. Because when you're in the, oh boy, I know I said the yes to what I wish to say yes to, but it doesn't all of a sudden feel happy, happy, joy, joy. I'm not, you know, bunnies and rainbows. I'm scared shitless and freaking out and sweating. I might smell even. So how do I figure that out? And you figure it out by putting one foot in front of the other and continuing to make the choices that say, habit is not who I am. Habit, t-shirt, is not who I am. Right? Habit is not who I am. Because when habit gets to tell you who you are, the scenery doesn't change.